Join me and my dad as we make this A-frame wedding flower box sign. I've been a bit absent here on YouTube recently, I apologise, so I thought it was about time that I posted something, and my dad and I recently made this A-frame flower box sign together, so I decided to do a little vlog of how we made it. And I'm going to drop all of the measurements, links, materials, etc. as well for anyone else who wants to make their own. I have been so busy over the past couple of months working on my wedding decal business. Always get super busy around summertime. But I've also been working on a little something, especially for craft beginners. It's called Cutting Machine Confident, and it has short tutorials, cheat sheets, links to suppliers, free designs and more, especially for anyone who wants to get up to speed and confident with their Cricut machine. I've added a link in the description if you're new to the Cricut world and want to check it out. And now to the sign. So we used this sheet of MDF. I think it's this one from B&Q or similar. My dad cut it down into two pieces that were 600mm by 800mm, and the sheet is about 20mm thick. I've had sheets like this cut down in B&Q before though, so if your local hardware store has that service, then I'm sure it's something they could do. And he also very kindly primed them with this quick dry white primer for me, and he screwed on some small pieces of wood for the feet, which are about 25mm tall on the front here. He had tried to wood glue them on, but apparently they weren't very secure, so he added some screws as well. And then there is also a small wood plank across the top on the back. This is to add the hinges onto later. Then this is the shelf for the front, which will become the flower box. It is 4 bits of wood screwed together. The front piece is 545mm wide, 150mm high and about 10mm thick. The side pieces are 95mm wide and the bottom piece is about 510 by 100mm. Then with just some extra supporting wood bits underneath. I can't take any credit for any of this bit other than showing him the idea. My dad can just throw things together like this as if it's nothing. He's so skilled. So at this point I actually did do some work though and got my overalls on and some paint ready. I'm just using a white wood satin finish paint because it was already open. The sign isn't going to go outdoors, so I didn't need to worry too much about the type of paint. Other than that, it was suitable for adding to wood. And so I just used a smaller brush to paint the sides. This wasn't as easy to keep neat as I thought it would be. If the table wasn't already covered in paint and whatever else underneath, I definitely should have put some covers down. And then I used a roller for the fronts and just did a thin layer of paint for the first coat. This is such a satisfying job, although it was really annoying me trying to get rid of any streaky lines. I was just trying not to put too much paint on to avoid that. It would have been nice to do this in like a funky colour. One of my customers sent me a picture of hers that she made and she had painted it in a really vibrant green colour. But because my dad already had a half-open tin of white paint, I just went with that. I also think I would probably sell this once I've used it for photos for my business, so I figured it was better to keep it neutral. Then I just painted the flower box as well with the smaller brush for the edges and the roller for the front and sides. After the first coat had dried, it needed a bit of a sand as it had that MDF texture coming up through the paint. Here's a bit of sanding ASMR for you. Then I gave it another coat after that. I would really recommend using a quick dry paint so that you're not waiting for ages in between coats. Once that second layer was dry, I got my dad back because he's a perfectionist, so he's always in charge of measuring things. So he made sure the box was on straight, marked where the edges were, and then drilled some guide holes. We flipped the signs over and added the hinges to the back on this little wood strip. Then we added the flower box to the front and I drilled in some holes and then drilled in the screws from the back. This bit was definitely a two-person job. And now for the big reveal. It looks so good. We did just add a couple of hooks on the bottom as well, just so something can be tied between these so that it doesn't unfold itself if it's used at an event. I did leave it a couple of days for the paint to fully dry and cure, but then it was time for me to make it look pretty. I've never done anything like this before, so I just kind of guessed at what to get. I got these 3 blocks of flower foam, this pack of colourful flowers from Amazon, and some gypsophilia for the gaps. I'll add the links to the description. The foam blocks fit really well in there. They almost took up the whole area, but not quite. And then I figured it was just a case of arranging the flowers all the way across and spreading them out so there were no gaps. Just these on their own don't look quite right, so getting the gypsyfiller was definitely the right call. That had quite long stems, so it did need a bit of cutting down to get it the right height, and I just went through and added to the back and front wherever there were gaps. And these are the final flowers. I'm not sure I'll give up my job to be a florist just yet, but this was actually really fun to do. I think they do need a bit more pulling apart and possibly a bit more varied height, but I think it looks really fun and colourful. Once they were done, now for the bit I'm best at, adding decals. For all of my designs, I create a template in Illustrator with the space I have available. I make my design to fit within that space, and then I save that as an SVG to upload to whatever machine I'm using to cut it on. Once cut, now it's time to weed, add transfer tape and apply. I used the hinge method to apply the first line. If you want lots more tips like this for making and applying decals as well as other projects, do check out Cutting Machine Confident, as I added the full tutorial for the hinge method in there. Then I just continued with the rest of the lines. It was super easy to apply to. The vinyl stuck really well, and the black stands out so well on that white background as well. I'm so pleased with it. Let me know if you're going to attempt one in the comments. I'm hoping to get back to doing more regular YouTube videos from next month onwards, and I do have a couple of ideas for things I want to do, but let me know in the comments if there is anything in particular you want me to cover. Some of my previous videos are getting really old as well, so I'm sure I could do with doing some updates as well. Thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe to see more future videos like this.